And speaking of those service projects, hey, on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we remember and honor the legacy of civil rights leader with the National Day of Service. Joining us is someone with firsthand knowledge who's lived through those eras and is here to share some of his experience, and that is none other than the pastor of Westside Church of God here in Fresno, Pastor Paul Binion. Thanks for getting up with us this morning.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're so excited to have you on the show, and for folks that maybe just first time, kind of share with us some of your experience. You've got to live through the civil rights movement both down south and here in California.
Yes, this coming Sunday will be my fourth Fresno, California. But I was born in the city of Birmingham, Alabama. Through my early years of my life, as I often share with people, living in what I call America's apartheid in the Deep South back in the 1950s and 1960s. And my father made a decision to move the family to California, primarily to get away from the racial activity and the life that we experienced of tremendous bigotry in the South. And I grew up in Los Angeles, but again, I've spent most of my life here in Fresno, and this is home to me.
And what is it folks at home should know on a day like this, when you get a chance to kind of look back at your experience here over time and the things that you've seen, what is it that you think it's important for people to focus on a day like today?
I think it's very important, and very important in light of the life and legacy as we commemorate Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's life, is for us to do a little self-check. I think that we need to grade ourselves regarding the principles and teachings of the Reverend Dr. King. I think it's fitting for America to take a day and do a little check on how we're doing with regard to justice and equity and fairness and equality. How are we doing with reconciliation? How are we doing with helping our fellow man? How are we doing with moving unity forward to unite our communities? And so my life has been, besides being a pastor and preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, my life has been dedicated to reconcile people, to bring unity to our city. Again, to help people to cross barriers, to be a trailblazer with regard to that. And God has blessed me and helped me and given me great favor to do that. But I'd want to say to our city, I believe that if Dr. King was living today, and we're going to hear that speech, I was on the mountaintop, we're going to hear that speech, I have a dream, many times today. I think that Dr. King would say that he's still looking down the mountain and that he's seen great progress and great strides we've made with regard to our racial integrity. But again, I would think he would say we still have much room to cover. We still have a long ways to go. We celebrate the progress we've made, but again, there's still much that has to take place with regard to bringing equity and fairness and justice to all of our citizenry.
And for folks that aren't familiar with it, we've seen some photos on social media lately, and obviously many of you all have lived through it, but Dr. King made trips here to the Central Valley as they were working for workers' rights and other types of improvements. The Valley kind of has a rich history with folks coming to our area.
Very much so, very much so. Dr. King came to Fresno just a couple of years before I came here, but there are those, some of my older colleagues who shared with us that at the time he was here, and again, a time they'll never forget, but being one of our great American icons. But again, this is a struggle for all of us. This is a challenge for all of us in our city. And again, what has taken place over these years is that more and more of us realize that this is very important. That life in America cannot just be about us, but we must look out as well and have compassion on our fellow man. And one of the things about compassion, again, I'm being a student of the Bible teaches that compassion is when we're able to put ourselves in the shoes of our fellow citizens, able to transfer our lives to their lives and further understand what they're going through. That's true compassion.
I love it. Always a wealth of wisdom there, Pastor Paul Binion. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Megan, back to you.
Didn't know we were getting wise on this Monday, huh? But we are. What's another quote? The time is always right to do what is right.